All right, now we're going to share some key features of functions. The first couple that we'll talk about are the maximum and the minimum values. The maximum value of a function is the highest point that the function reaches, or the highest output value that it has. So looking at our graph here, we see that this is our highest point. Remember, we want to write our highest point, or our max here, as an ordered pair. So that's always x comma y. So our x value for this is 5 and then up 4. So I would say that our maximum here is 5 comma 4 because that is the highest point that it reaches. Similarly, with the minimum, that is the lowest point, or the lowest output value that this graph has. So looking at our graph, our lowest value is right here. Remember, we want to write that as an ordered pair, and we write that as x first and then y. So my x value is I go over 0 and up 0. So my minimum value in this case would be 0, 0.
All right, now we're going to talk about where the graph is increasing or decreasing. So let's first talk about what it means to be increasing or decreasing. So if we look at this graph, if I start all the way over here where the graph starts and I move this way, the graph is decreasing if my y values or my output values get smaller as I move to the right. And then it's increasing if my y values get bigger as I move to the right. So it's really important to pay attention to our x values when we're talking about increasing and decreasing, because as we're moving to the right, that's how we can tell whether or not a graph is increasing or decreasing. So if we start here at this 5 and we follow this graph, it's decreasing, right? And we want to talk about, well, where is it decreasing on this graph? We can see that it decreases, it starts at the value 5 and it decreases until it gets to this value 4. But that's not how we're going to describe our increasing and decreasing. We want to describe where on the x values, or what interval, what part of our domain is it decreasing. It starts decreasing at x equals 0 and it decreases until it gets to x equals 4. Well, yes, it does decrease from 5 to 4. Where it is decreasing is dependent on our x values. So it decreases from 0 to 4. And so when we write increasing and decreasing in interval notation, we're going to write it really similar to our domain and range. And because there's no open circles anywhere on our graph, we are going to assume that all the points are included. So we're going to say that it is decreasing from bracket, because the 0 is included, 0 to 4. And then we'll close our bracket there. And then we get to this part of our graph right here, which is flat. And so it is constant at that part. So from x equals 4 until x equals 6, our graph is constant. It's neither increasing nor decreasing. So we don't need to write an interval for that part. And then when we get to x equals 6, it starts increasing. And then we can see that increases from 6 until 9. So we can see that our y values, yes, it increases from 4 until 9 on our y, but the interval that it's increasing on is starting at x equals 6 all the way till 9. And again, because there's no open circles, we're going to say that all of these points are included. So it's increasing from 6 to 9 when x equals 6, and all those values in between.